And that kind of leads me to the real request on why I'm here, because some of the things that I've just been witnessing and experiencing within myself is like when I came forth to this planet, this beautiful playground, and I had an abundance of zest for life and enthusiasm, like beyond that I'm capable of, for now, been able to really express. And I had that, and I know from doing the social conditioning of with my parents, they couldn't quite keep up with me. I was sharing a story earlier, like we went to the lake for the first time. I was like 4 years old, and all I heard about going to the lake, we there yet, 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 you know. And then my father would be wailing his hand in the back, and whatever, But when we finally got there, the doors open. He's taking out the grill, he's doing all these kinds of things, and off I was, right off the pier and into the water. And he had to come right in after me, and it was explained to me. The only thing I remembered about it was his wallet was hanging on a clothesline. But from that point on, enthusiasm not good. They can't cope with it, so I would squelch my enthusiasm for the benefit of others. And I'm at the threshold on so many different topics in my life.
There are a lot of reasons that a lot of people squelch their enthusiasm for life. Sometimes you blame it on your past conditioning, your social conditioning. Yeah. We think that's an accurate awareness. Sometimes you blame it on the person who is not pleasing you in the moment, something that you have no control over. But the whole point of everything that we're talking about here is that it is possible for you to be at any stage of life that you are in terms of the years that you're moving through, and to return to the enthusiasm that you felt when you made the decision to come. So let's talk about what those basic things are. When you are younger, not always, but usually, you feel less limitation. Now, it depends upon the conditioning of those who are around you, but you do have a sense of invincibility. Now, your parents, and rightly so, they want you to be safe in the world. They don't want you to go jumping off the pier before you know how to swim. They don't want you to play in the traffic or jump off cliffs. They want to orient you a little bit, but they get carried away because the guardedness that they have experienced has conditioned them. So let's talk about how that happens to any of you. So you're moving through your life experience. Let's say that you are a youngster, and you behave in a way that someone who is prone to worry worries about you. And so they project to you their worry far more than they project to you their behavior that is stopping you from doing something. So what we want to say to you is that while you think it is the restriction that their action has caused, like him swatting you and wanting to contain you, or him snatching you out of the water, or telling you that you can't do something, or physically restraining you or restricting you, that is not what leads you to the socialization that you are talking about. It's the vibrations that are passing through the airwaves and your receptivity to them. It's your attention to the behavior of others. It's your receiving of the vibrational impulses that they are offering. And it does not have to be. And the reason that we're pointing it out in that way is because that social conditioning, yes, it was happening when you were 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, but it's still happening today. You have to stop saying, I was socially conditioned, or I was affected by guarded thoughts, and begin saying, they are around me right now, and it's important for me to be aware when I am allowing them to continue to be the factor of resistance that is keeping me out of the receptive mode. Stop talking about this as something that was happening to you. That doesn't mean anything. What happened, happened, and furthermore, it filled your vortex full of wonderful things. And so you are far better off no matter what happened to you as you were moving through time to where you are now, because every bit of that has contributed to this movement of this wonderful energy that really is what you are all about now. And so never mind what social conditioning happened. What we want to talk about is what is the vibrational conditioning that is happening now. And the only way that you're going to be able to do anything about it is by caring about how you feel and moving from thoughts that feel uncomfortable. And so there is this thing about being in the world. This is an important topic because here you are in this world with others, And you're beginning to accept, because we hammer it at you so frequently, that in this world that you are sharing with others, with lots of ideas and lots of conversations and lots of things that people are wanting to do, that some of it is pleasing to you and some of it isn't. We want you to realize that as you are looking at things that please you and looking at things that are not pleasing you, that at the same time that this time-space reality is helping you to identify how you want to be in the world, there's this larger part of you who already knows how you want to be in the world. You could move so much faster through this time-space reality and to the things that are pleasing to you if you were comparing yourself less and less to what's going on around you, and you're reaching more and more to the alignment with that broader perspective. Even a subject like sexuality, for some in this room, it's a titillating conversation. People want to talk about it. They certainly want to understand it. Lots of people really want to do it. And for others, it's a subject that we could do just as well not spending so much time talking about. So even in an environment like this, there is resistance that is happening as we are spending an inordinate amount of time on a topic that is exciting in some ways and uncomfortable in others. And what we are getting at is, this is a world where everybody gets to feel what they get to feel, but along with this selfish wanting to satisfy what's important to me, there is a consideration of what's going on around as well. Well, that's where your inner being comes in. This is the thing that we would like to say to all of you. If we were to hold a survey, you've all got little buttons that you push, and we say, who wants to talk about this? Who wants to talk about this? Who wants to talk about this? There would be some subjects that a lot of people would want to talk about, and some subjects that nobody would ever want to talk about. And it would be a lot of work trying to sort all of that out. We're talking about you in this room, and we're talking about you as a collective consciousness. We want you to know that it's already been worked out in the vortex. It's already been worked out. All of the requests have been put into the vortex. And everyone, when you are not gathering together collectively and asking for harmony in any subset of humanity, all of you have created a vortex that source energy is ready, willing, and able to help you to experience fully. But it requires a willingness to step out of the crowd, a crowd who will, whether you want it or not, condition you vibrationally moment by moment by moment by moment. You just can't be in this world without picking up on the vibrational conditioning that is happening. So when we are visiting with you, Esther uses the words when she talks to friends, it's like Abraham has the room. And what she thinks she means by that, and what we mean when she says that, is that we are, as source energy components, aware of what everyone wants in terms of everything. We know what your vortex is, we know what you've put in it, and we know where you stand in relationship to it. So if we could just not try to go so deep on every subject, if we could just not try to make everything an complicated mathematical equation, if we could just accept, sort of in a general way, that things are going good and that fun is abounding, it is our promise to you that in the lightness of the thought, in the softness of the thought, in the relaxation in the thought, in the fun of the thought, in the ease of the thought, in the effortlessness of the thought, that everything that you desire and that your capacity to desire has allowed so far will be realized by you as soon as today. In other words, there does not have to be lag time between what you're asking for and what you're receiving.
That's my question, because the enthusiasm is pretty far up on the emotional scale. I want to learn how I can maintain that enthusiasm so I sustain the receptive mode to a greater capacity.
But what we want to point out to you is that even in the determination for enthusiasm, there's a pushing in it. Okay. There's an efforting in it. And so that's why we're guiding you more to the letting it happen, to the allowing of it happening. But that requires some important understandings. That requires a willingness to accept that the vortex exists. Do you?
Oh, yes.
A willingness to accept that you are an extension of source energy, do you?
Absolutely.
A willingness to understand that you have an emotional guidance system within you, do you?
I do.
A willingness to accept as much as you are ready to receive in any moment and nothing more, do you?
I always want more. I always want more. I'm a greedy bugger.
Of course you want more, but this is the thing that we want you to understand. A readiness to receive what you're ready to receive and not more. Those are powerful words. A readiness to receive what you're ready to receive, a willingness to receive what you're ready to receive and not more. A willingness to accept the perfection of the way it is working, the not trying to push the noodle. When you get into that mindset, and for many of you, it takes a little doing because you've been setting goals and you've been managing things and you've been orchestrating things and you've been doing things and you become so action-oriented that you have socially conditioned yourself to a way of life that works to a certain extent, but it's not the mastery of creation that you're reaching for. And so it's a softening of that intensity. It's a being satisfied with one orgasm, for God's sake, for a minute.
Well, you probably remember in Playa because, like, I did keep score, and it was like, okay,
Well, we don't-
5-1, and 15-3, and it's like this isn't fair, and and now you.
Don't miss our point here.
Okay, one is great. It really is. It's the best thing because
Don't miss our point. The point that we're making is, and you are all hearing it, and we'll just wrap this up by saying it one more time, is that if you can acknowledge step 1, 2, 3, step 1, 2, 3. Step 1 is the contrast, the blessed contrast that you think you don't want has done all of the work. The contrast that you think you don't want has done all of the work. It has helped you to decipher from all that you are living, and as far as you can see, what you most prefer from where you stand. And it matters a lot because you're on the leading edge and you're asking for things that whole of you, that source energy part of you, has never asked for before. And so that expansion has happened. The work has been done. The vortex is underway, and now the laws of the universe are carrying it, along with your inner being who is tending it precisely and with unspeakable consideration. So the work is done in terms of the trying. All of the trying happened in the experiencing of the contrast. And so now you're in the receptive mode and you receive that impulse or that idea that you want something. This is the thing that we want you to do when that occurs. When you realize that you have allowed yourself to be in the receiving mode enough that an idea occurs to you, that's when we want you to stop trying more, not start trying more. Can you hear that? Because when you start trying more, then it's how and where and when and who and how many, instead of being in that receptive mode where you are allowing the resources of this resourceful universe to yield to you, to yield to worthy you, this never unfolding path for the delight of what you worked out in step 1. Can you sort of feel that? But for most of you, at the point of that idea, that's why the story about the woman who wants the $100,000 is so important right now for you. For so many of you, you think that when the idea came to you, that's when your real work begins. So you dig in and you go after it and you cripple yourself, you close your valve, you keep yourself from being in the receiving mode, and you cause undue frustration, which is what we feel from you while you're talking about enthusiasm and passion and all of that stuff. What we feel is this frustration because you're trying too hard at a point that you don't need to try. Dodge bullets. We're not saying don't dodge bullets. We're not saying that contrast isn't something that requires some attention and action. But just trust that step 1 has done its work. And you all have done enough step 1 work to keep your vortex full of stuff to bring you 20 or 30 lifetimes of really happy, productive living. And so the trying phase of your life can be behind you, you see. And what makes you feel like you have to keep trying so hard is because you're still trying to prove something. You're still, in a sort of comparative way, you're still trying to prove something, and what that something is your willingness to receive. You're trying to prove something that you don't need to prove. That's really what we're wanting to get at here. You can't fail at this life. You cannot get it wrong. You can't fail at it. You came as masters, and you never cease performing as masters.